Okay, it's base 5, and instead of 4 to 0, 2, 1, 0,
You have
minus 1, and
values
minus
from
2 is
minus
good.
2 to plus 2.
Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to the last riddle of Advent of Code 22. So, we are the guys from Germany. I'm Thomas, and with me are Frank. Good morning, Frank.
Hello, Thomas.
We're waiting for the start and we're waiting for Achim. So, on and go. So, full of hot air. As the expedition finally reaches the extraction point, several large hot air balls drift down to meet you. So, this is the test data.
So it's complicated input here.
Oh, 2 equal 0 equal. This looks strange. 2 equal 0, 1.
I would share the screen.
Yes.
Don't I?
Yes.
Yeah, so now I do.
No problem. I just share my screen with the riddle.
So it's something about SNAFU numbers. SNAFU is a funny system he defines here, and then the numbers are somehow in this thing.
You have to map the numbers.
Yeah. What SNAFU number do you supply to Bob's console? So I need to reread it from the beginning. So I guess Achim is here.
Yeah. Good morning. You just started.
Hello,
Good morning, Achim. So who can explain what to do?
Now you get an input, these SNAFU numbers, which is some weird notation of a number, and you need to calculate the decimal number from it or the real number, and then add all these numbers, and then you get a sum, and then you have to calculate the sum back to a SNAFU number and output the SNAFU number as the result. So now we need to first understand how this translation from real numbers to SNAFU numbers works, or from decimal numbers to SNAFU numbers. And this is like usual, weird explained in the text, weirdly. I didn't understand that part at all.
I already did. We have something of a base 5 notation.
Okay, it's base 5, and instead of 4 to 0, 2, 1, 0,
you have
minus
values
1, and minus
from
2
minus 2 to plus 2.
Yeah.
So Achim would share his solution for us. Achim, it's your stage.
Okay. First step, parsing that stuff in. That is quite simple. It's still a digit system, so we start at the front and assume a value of 0 and just add up the value of the corresponding digit, then multiplying the entire value times 5 and adding up the next one until the very end. So we get the numbers. Not much of an issue here for minus and equal special treatment that I get minus 1 and minus 2, but not that of a problem. And here I could have done a parse int over the single character and so on, but I choose to just reduce the character value of 0 from C. So much for the parsing works. Then adding the entire stuff up, also no problem, but converting the stuff back, and that's a different thing. So long gives us a conversion into any given radix, this time radix 5. And I have a debug output here for this example, converting the 4890 from the example. I can put it up again. There it is. It reads here that the example is adds up to 4,890 in base 10. In base 5, it's 124,030. But we can't use it because we don't get 3s and 4s. Instead, we get minus and equals. So, if the resulting string contains 3s or 4s, we need to do some other magic. And that is, we go from the front to the back through the number, digit by digit. If it's a 0, 1, or 2, all is good. We can just advance. If it is a 3 or 4, we need to replace it and increment the previous digit.
Actually,
So
I'm fairly sure that it cannot be a 4. It can only be a 3. But yeah, I left out this case 4, and it also works.
I have a 4 in the example.
Okay.
It can be a 4, of course.
Okay, then maybe I was simply lucky.
It's base 5. So we replace the 3 with a double minus,
okay.
so a minus 2, and the 4 with a minus 1. But then we have to increment the previous digit.
Yeah, I understand.
And that method would go backward as long as it needs. And incrementing the characters. So it looks on the previous character and tries to increment it. If it's a minus 2, it gets a minus 1. Minus 1, it gets a 0, and so on. If it's a 2, it's replaced with a minus 2. And we have to advance 1 additional digit.
Mm-hmm.
If we leave this loop at j equaling 0, that means we have gone through the entire number and still have to do an increment. So we insert a 1 at the very first position. In that case, we would return to the other loop and would recheck a number that we have already checked.
Yeah, it is a bit clumsy. So you can go from the lowest digit to the highest digit and then fix one after the other. So if you find a 3 or 4, you increment. So in your code, it's the previous because you go from the highest to the lowest. But if you go from the lowest to the highest, then you increment the next. So if you end up in the next number, it's fairly simpler. And there comes the 3 into the game, because on the next position, then you can get a 3 where there should be only minus 2 to 2. And that's the case I left out where there's no 4. But okay, yeah. So now if you do it from top to bottom, you need to redo it once you got one too high. Yeah.
Yes, but that is no problem.
Yeah, you
In
call
fact,
it again.
I couldn't just kick out these lines because what I didn't throw in here is a handling for minus and equal, but I don't really need it, so I will remove that. Because I only have to treat the 3 and the 4, and in every other case, I just advance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Achim, what was the hardest thing in this riddle for you?
Figuring this thing out.
Okay. And for you, Frank, what was the hardest thing for you?
You first understand what it's about here, this riddle. So converting what to what and sorting the names of the things for myself. And then the same here, this incrementing where it needs to be incremented and do not if it's not needed.
Yeah,
this was a bit clumsy. Yeah.
Thank you. So that's all from Advent of Code and from the guys from Germany. Some last words from your side, Frank?
Yeah, well, I'm a bit so and so. I don't really like that much the puzzle, so it's mainly implementing details instead of thinking about complicated problems. So I'm a bit disappointed with the riddles. So I think this should be more scientific. I guess. Then it would make more fun.
And you, Achim,
Maybe.
some words from your side?
Story-wise, this very young elf, which is listed here in part 2, I believe he is my personal hero for this Advent of Code because he is the only other person who managed to find a star fruit.
Okay. Then, stay healthy, happy Christmas, and we see us next year. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yes, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.